Lama, Hari Allah, Hari Allah, Hari Allah, Hari Allah. Alekiri Lama, Hari Allah, Hari Allah. Hari Allah, Kiri Allah, Sikiri Allah, Hari Allah.
Hello, welcome again. I wanted to share a brief video with you as well of the wrestling that took place within me as those words start rising in me. Reconciliation and truth, truth and reconciliation was a crack inside me that I had to enter between my ancestors. So come join me and let's braid those two together, weave those two together, eh? So in the last video, introducing my father to you, and the words that rose from me when I was 6 years old, I wanted to say that what happened for me during those words rising in me was a great chasm that I fell into. And what it was my ancestors, both my mother line, in particular my grandmother, who gives me the earth medicine that I carry, and then my father line, who was a Catholic mystic who shared with me that beloved Yeshua, Jesus, with me. But I began to wrestle within me. And then my husband and I watched a movie called Indian Horse, and that just did it. And what took place for me is I felt I was taken into my own inner reconciliation and truth and reconciliation. Of course, seen in that movie, the atrocities done in the residential schools in the name of the very name that I would come to speak of in my last video. And so I wrestled within myself with this Jesus, of course, with my father line, with my mother line. How am I within me going to bring reconciliation and truth and reconciliation, that I may share that with the world? And so there was a great reckoning taking place in me. And I kept seeing my chief staff, again, thank you to my friend Sharon, gave this to me, gifted me, because my chief staff is about sharing the beauty that my ancestors carried, eh? And so here I was in the midst and seeing them both on one side and the other, in a chasm of tears between us and between them. And this Jesus, this companion, in a sense, in the middle of it. I mean, again, the sacred drum, you know, it gives of itself, the animal, all that gives of itself. And my father giving me the mystery of the cross, the mystery of suffering, as Thai Nhat Hanh so beautifully would speak of, bless him as well. So there has been a reckoning within me, and so the weaving and the braiding of this together with my ancestors, and I felt that my grandmother beginning to chant this chant, "Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you in the wind that blew." And then I could hear her chanting to the fire that burns, "Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you." In the rain that falls, every droplet, singing, whispering, "Don't worry, I love you, I will always be with you." and the stones whispering, "Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you." And so the two of them coming together, saying this, singing this to one another, and in all of creation, "Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you." Truth and reconciliation, reconciliation and truth taking place within me, my mother line, my father line, my grandmother, all that took place for her, all that took place for them, coming together, remembering both their medicine as one medicine, their beauty. It's my beauty. I could see my grandmother standing in the north, the wind carrying her, the wind singing, and my grandmother singing in remembrance to the wind. "Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you. Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you." And I could see my grandmother standing in the east, the fire burning, the sun blazing, the sun chanting, and my grandmother chanting in return, "Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you. Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you." And I could see my grandmother standing, and the rain falling upon her, and every drop of rain singing this chant, and my grandmother singing in remembrance, "Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you. And don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you." And then I could see my mother, and her mother, and her mother's mother, my grandmother, between them on that sacred rock, and the rock whispering this chant to them, and then whispering this chant in return, singing with all my ancestors, and my father lying on the other side with his beloved companion. "Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you. Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you." And my ancestors dancing together as they all chant together, "Don't worry, we love you, and we will always be with you." The whole world chanting, all of creation, all of the cosmos singing this cosmic chant, "Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you. Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you. Don't worry, I love you, and I will always be with you. that I heard when I was 6 years old from beloved Jesus. And I went into that chasm, wrestling reconciliation and truth and reconciliation. And I knew then if I was going to share the medicine of my life, I would have to share both what I'd been given from my grandmother, which is my mother line, the beauty of their medicine, and my father line, which is the mystical, which is the graces that I have received. And graces are eternal, so graces are meant to be shared because their potency is eternal. So the two of them coming together today makes a very good day indeed. Thank you for sharing in this with me. Thank you so much for coming this day. Let us continue to give our worries to this greater love that is always with us. I am Ivry. This is who I am.